Have you ever felt that you are too easily accessible, too predictable, and too easily manipulated? Thoughtless words and unconsidered actions from others easily stir your emotions, causing you to react automatically, sometimes even losing control. Why are we so vulnerable to things beyond our reach? The answer lies in accessibility, where your mind and emotions become a playground for every external influence. Carl Jung once said that the greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to achieve that, we must first learn not to be controlled by emotions. Jung called this process individuation, the journey to separate the true self from the control of the collective unconscious and the emotional programming that does not belong to the authentic self. In Jung's philosophy, becoming unattainable does not mean building walls to isolate yourself from the world, but rather establishing inner sovereignty, where external stimuli no longer manipulate you. You don't need to react hastily, you don't need to justify yourself, and you don't need to seek acceptance from anyone. That separation is a form of freedom. Freedom from judgment, freedom from manipulation by others' expectation. So, when you truly become unattainable, what happens? How will your relationship with the world change? How will those who once easily triggered your emotions react when all the buttons no longer work? This journey of discovery will lead you to inner freedom, where you take ownership of your own life, no longer a puppet of others' emotions. Number 1. Breaking the ease of manipulation. When you become unattainable, those who once manipulated your emotions can no longer trigger reactions from you as before. All emotional games become meaningless when you refuse to participate, when the psychological buttons no longer work. When you choose to become unattainable, the first thing that happens is confusion from those who once easily manipulated you. They can no longer predict your reactions, can no longer press buttons to trigger your emotions as before. Silence replaces impulsive reactions, calmness replaces justification, and self-control replaces emotional dependency. Imagine someone who was accustomed to saying just one critical comment to make you feel miserable for the entire day. But suddenly, you simply smile, no argument, no justification, no reaction. At that moment, they begin to lose control, realizing that what was once a button no longer works. Jung calls this the transformation of psychic energy. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Until you become aware of emotional manipulation, it will control you like a destiny. But once you recognize it, the game ends. A specific example to illustrate this breakdown is in toxic relationships. When one person continually controls the other through guilt or fear of abandonment, they often trigger familiar reactions. The other person will try to please, explain, or even apologize for things they did not do wrong. But when the manipulated person learns to maintain emotional distance, no longer easily swayed by threats or guilt, the manipulator becomes confused. They will try old methods, anger, blame, even pleading, but when none of it works anymore, they are forced to confront the reality that the power they once held is gone. Carl Jung explains this through the concept of individuation, the process of becoming an individual, where a person begins to find their true self, separate from the control of others. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. When you stop seeking validation from the outside and start looking inward, you awaken. And this awakening shatters all attempts at manipulation from others. In Jung's analytical psychology, being unattainable is not about distancing yourself from others, but is a form of self-mastery and inner power. It allows you to control your emotional energy instead of letting others manipulate it. A typical example is found in politics or business, where truly powerful leaders are never easily stirred by criticism or praise. They listen, analyze, but do not react immediately. This calmness creates authority and respect from others. Meanwhile, those who are easily manipulated by emotions constantly find themselves trapped in a cycle of explanation, justification, and defense. Jung calls this energy leakage. When you react automatically, you give away your power to others. When you become unattainable, you are no longer easily dragged into others' emotional games. Those who once could press buttons to make you angry, suffer, or feel insecure now stand before a mysterious and unpredictable silence. Jung describes this as the awakening of the archetype, the psychological archetypes within each person. When you learn to control your reactions, you awaken the archetype of the sage, one who listens without the need to respond, who senses without being swayed. Others will recognize this. They will become cautious, even fearful, because their emotional manipulation games no longer work. They are forced to face themselves instead of blaming you. This state of being unattainable not only frees you from the control of others, but also reshapes the way people perceive you. They no longer see you as someone easily swayed by their words or actions. Instead, they view you as an independent, self-mastered individual who cannot be easily manipulated. And that is the awakening of the inner self, where no one can press a button and control your emotions anymore. Number 2, the growth of inner power. When emotional games no longer work, you not only break free from others' manipulation, but also build an inner strength more solid than ever. Silence is not indifference or avoidance. It is the strategy of self-mastery. Every time you choose silence instead of reacting, you not only protect your emotions, but also reclaim control from those who once manipulated you. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Silence becomes a soft weapon, creating an attractive magnetic field without the need for words or arguments. Imagine you are facing someone who always tries to provoke you, waiting for you to explode, to react harshly, or to justify yourself. In the past, they always succeeded because you were easily drawn into endless debates, hurting yourself through negative emotions. But this time, you choose silence. No reaction, no justification, no expression of anger. That silence is not indifference, it is strategy. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." When you choose silence, you are no longer swept up in the emotional whirlpool controlled by others. You begin to observe, to analyze instead of bursting with emotion. The person in front of you becomes confused. They do not know what you are thinking. They do not know what your next move will be. And at that very moment, your inner power rises, not through words, but through calmness and self-control. We often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, it is the strength of the inner self. Silence is not ignoring. It is a form of soft power where you choose not to engage in meaningless emotional games. Silence is a source of great strength, Lao Tzu once said, and Jung agreed with this notion, believing that silence can create an attractive magnetic field, a form of power that requires no force or argument. That silence makes others think, reflect, and become uneasy. They want to know what you are thinking, want to understand you, but they cannot approach or grasp you. This is when the allure of mystery emerges. Number 3, the allure of mystery. Carl Jung once analyzed that people are unconsciously drawn to what they cannot grasp or fully understand. He called this the stimulation of the collective unconscious, a form of reaction programmed by thousands of years of evolution. We are captivated by mystery because mystery opens the door to discovery, and discovery is the greatest motivation of humankind. When you become unattainable, making it difficult for others to understand or grasp your emotions, they are pulled into a spiral of seeking answers. People want to decipher your silence, to understand why you no longer react as before, why you can remain calm in the face of criticism or provocation. Jung described this phenomenon as an awakening of the shadow archetype, the hidden part within each person, where curiosity, insecurity, and unshaped desires reside. When you do not reveal your emotions, the shadow in the other person is activated, pushing them to want to know more about you. They might try to provoke you, create situations to see how you would react, but your calm silence leaves them lost. That mystery becomes a powerful magnetic field. A prime example of the allure of mystery is found in romantic relationships. We are often attracted to those who do not easily show their emotions, who do not display all their thoughts on their faces. They are like an unopened book, an unsolved puzzle. This recalls Jung's concept of anima and animus, two archetypes representing the ideal image of the opposite sex in each person's mind. When you become hard to grasp, you activate the image of the anima or animus in the other person, creating a strange attraction that even they cannot fully explain. Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. Jung wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections. When you do not expose your emotions, you allow others to explore and confront their unconscious parts. Mystery does not stop at surface-level attraction. It also creates sustainable inner power. When you do not easily allow others to understand everything about you, you protect your emotional energy, preventing it from being drained by external provocations. Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." That mystery is not a mask to hide your true feelings, but a protective layer for your soul, allowing you to focus on your authentic self, undisturbed by others' words or actions. When you become unattainable, you not only stop giving away power to those who seek to manipulate, but also reclaim control over your own emotions. You become an intriguing mystery, an independent being who is not easily shaken. Others may try to provoke, inquire, or influence, but your silence and mystery are an invisible wall that blocks all attempts at manipulation. You become unpredictable, and that unpredictability makes you stronger than ever. Carl Jung believed that when you awaken and realize the power of silence and mystery, you begin to master yourself, no longer a puppet of emotions triggered by others. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakes. And when you awaken, the power game changes forever. Number 4. Confronting the shadow work. When the growth of inner power makes you unattainable, you not only break free from others' manipulation, but also initiate a deeper journey, the process of individuation. This is a core concept in Carl Jung's philosophy, where an individual embarks on a journey to discover their true self, transcending the influence of the collective unconscious and social impositions to become their authentic self, independent, strong, and resilient. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. To achieve that, we must first confront a deep part within ourselves, a part that has been denied and forgotten, the shadow." The shadow, according to Jung, is the collection of all the parts that are repressed, denied, or unaccepted within our subconscious. It can be fear, jealousy, selfishness, or even suppressed desires. These darker aspects are often hidden by our conscious mind because they do not align with the image we want to project outward. However, the shadow does not disappear. It lingers in the unconscious and manifests as automatic reactions, sudden emotions, and uncontrolled actions. When you are easily manipulated emotionally by others, it is precisely when the shadow is controlling you. Fears of rejection, abandonment, or lack of love make you react easily when someone touches those buttons. The process of individuation requires you to directly face the shadow instead of avoiding or denying it. This is a challenging journey because it demands absolute honesty with yourself. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to observe. When someone tries to provoke or attack you, instead of retaliating, you step back and ask yourself, what part of me has been triggered? Why do I feel hurt? Is this fear of rejection or insecurity about my self-worth? This question opens the door for you to delve deeper into your mind, to face the shadow and transform it into strength rather than allowing it to control you. Jung described this process as a form of awakening, where you begin to see the parts of yourself that you previously did not want to acknowledge. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you dare to face it, darkness is no longer the enemy, but a guide, helping you understand more about the hidden motivations within yourself. The courage to confront the shadow is the foundation for the conscious and unconscious to begin to harmonize. Jung believed that when one is no longer driven by automatic reactions from the shadow, the conscious and unconscious find harmony, creating powerful self-mastery. This is the path to becoming yourself, individuation path, where you are no longer shaped by the expectations of others, dependent on external validation or judgment. You do not need to explain or justify your actions because you understand who you are and what you want. Jung called this the union of persona, the social mask, and self, the true self, where you are no longer trapped in the roles that society imposes on you. A prime example of this harmony between the conscious and the unconscious is the journey of Nelson Mandela. After enduring 27 years of imprisonment, he did not allow hatred to dominate his mind. Mandela once shared that during those years in captivity, he spent time understanding himself, confronting his fears, anger, and even helplessness. This confrontation helped him find inner peace and the strength not to react violently upon his release. He chose the path of reconciliation instead of revenge, and this decision changed the history of South Africa. Mandela is a living testament to the process of individuation that Jung described, where the harmony between the conscious and the unconscious made him invulnerable to hatred and violence. Number 5. Harmony between the conscious and the unconscious. When the conscious and the unconscious harmonize, you no longer need validation or approval from others. This is the final stage of individuation, liberation from emotional dependency. Jung explained that dependency on external validation is merely a reflection of the shadow. It is the fear of rejection, isolation, or not being loved. But when you understand your true self, you are no longer influenced by those desires. You let go of the need to be loved, understood, or accepted because you have found your value. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. This is the declaration of someone who has undergone individuation, someone who no longer allows the past or others' opinions to define them. Liberating yourself from emotional dependency does not mean you become cold or indifferent. On the contrary, you become stronger and more at peace because you no longer live based on others' judgments. A clear example of this is Oprah Winfrey. After enduring a childhood filled with hardships and deep trauma, Oprah once shared that her greatest transformation came when she stopped seeking approval from others and began focusing on becoming the best version of herself. She no longer needed society's validation to feel complete, and that very shift helped Oprah become a global icon, inspiring millions with her message of inner strength. When you let go of the need for external acceptance, you free your mind from invisible constraints, from the pressure to be perfect according to others' standards. You no longer need to please everyone. You do not have to exhaust yourself trying to meet everyone's expectations. Instead, you live true to your authentic self, with values that you build and respect. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. The process of individuation, when you become unattainable, is a journey full of challenges, but also full of liberation. It is the journey of finding yourself, learning to confront the shadow, achieving harmony between the conscious and the unconscious, and finally freeing yourself from emotional dependency. No longer a puppet of circumstances or emotions, you stand firmly in your true self, unaffected by judgment or expectations from anyone. And when that happens, you truly become yourself, strong, independent, and invulnerable. So, if today you choose to pause and listen to yourself, to confront the shadow, to stop seeking external validation, are you ready to become the strongest and most complete version of yourself? Are you willing to step into the journey of individuation, to become unattainable, not easily manipulated, not easily shaken, and ultimately find true freedom? If the answer is yes, leave a sign, because this journey is not solitary, and your awakening is the inspiration for others to follow. Are you ready? Number 6. Those who once manipulated you will feel uncomfortable or leave. Imagine you are a boat adrift on the ocean, surrounded by powerful waves that pull you in every direction. Every word, every action from others is like those waves, easily steering you off course. A criticism makes you sway, a compliment shifts your direction, and a rejection can leave you drifting aimlessly. But one day, you decide to anchor yourself deep into your consciousness. That anchor is self-mastery, the awareness that your emotions do not need to depend on others. When you choose to become unattainable, no longer easily stirred by the emotional waves from others, you also begin to completely change the structure of the relationships around you. Those who were once accustomed to manipulating your emotions will feel confused, even uncomfortable. They can no longer press buttons and wait for you to react like an automatic machine. They can no longer find comfort in controlling you with guilt, fear, or insecurity. All emotional games become meaningless when you refuse to participate. That is the moment when power is returned to its rightful place, back to you. And miraculously, those who once exploited that weakness begin to leave, not because you push them away, but because they no longer find a source of energy to manipulate. This is not a loss. It is a liberation from toxic attachments, from the subtle control that you previously did not realize existed. Carl Jung once explained, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. When you change the way you react, the entire structure of the relationship also changes. If before, every criticism was a big wave that made you sway, now it is just a ripple on the surface of calm water. Others are forced to face themselves, forced to confront the helplessness of not being able to control their emotions anymore. Attempts to pull you into emotional whirlpools are met with silence and calmness. a kind of inner strength they have never seen before. And when they can no longer manipulate, they will leave, simply because that relationship no longer fits your awakening. Have you ever experienced the feeling when someone gradually drifts away after you decide to live true to yourself? That is not a loss. It is a cleansing. Those who cannot accept your true self, who cannot endure the self-mastery you have built, will naturally fade from your life. And that is completely okay, because that departure creates space for those who respect your boundaries, for those who do not seek to manipulate your emotions to satisfy their ego. When you become unattainable, those who come only to manipulate emotions will be exposed. They can no longer hide behind a mask of false concern or ambiguous affection. Conflicts begin to surface, and you start to realize that some relationships existed only to fill their emptiness, not to grow together. And that is when you liberate yourself, no longer feeling trapped or dependent on toxic connections. The departure of these people is not just liberation from toxic relationships. It is also an opening for your personal growth. You no longer have to explain, no longer have to justify, and no longer have to carry the weight of others' insecurities. You stand firmly in your true self, autonomous and resolute. Carl Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming an individual, where you separate from the collective unconscious and define your own identity. And when you awaken, those old, heavy, emotionally dependent relationships naturally fade away, making room for healthier, more respectful connections. Think about this. The departure of those who once manipulated your emotions is not a loss. It is liberation. It is like releasing heavy anchors so that your boat can sail farther and freer. You do not lose those people. You only lose the invisible control they once held, and only then are you truly free to find genuine connections. Those who do not seek to control you, but choose to walk alongside you in your journey of growth. So, are you willing to step past the fear to free yourself from toxic bonds? Are you ready to look back at the relationships that hold you in insecurity and manipulation and be brave enough to let go? Share your thoughts, because sometimes liberation is not an ending, but the beginning of a true journey to freedom. Are you ready to set sail? Number 7. More authentic relationships will flourish. When those who once manipulated your emotions leave, the space around you seems to become wider and more open. You no longer feel the heaviness, no longer need to be cautious with every word or step to avoid unjust judgment or criticism. It is a necessary cleansing to create room for newer, more authentic things to enter your life. And when you become unattainable, no longer manipulated by others' emotions, that is also when more genuine relationships begin to flourish. When you learn to set clear boundaries, when you are no longer easily dragged into the emotional whirlwinds that others intentionally create, only those who truly respect your inner integrity will remain. This is natural selection, a filtering process that happens effortlessly. Those who respect your boundaries, who understand the value of self-mastery, and do not attempt to change or control you, are the ones worthy of staying. Jung called this energy resonance. When you are self-controlled and radiate calmness, you attract those with similar energy frequencies. Those mature enough to accept you for who you are, without the need to change or adjust you. A clear example of this is the journey of Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychologist and philosopher who survived the Holocaust. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he describes how he maintained his inner calm even while imprisoned and brutally tortured. It was his calmness and steadfastness to his core values that helped him find resonance with people who shared the same longing for inner freedom. Frankl shared, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. In the harshest circumstances, he still found sincere connections, because only those who genuinely respected his inner values could walk alongside him in that journey. The relationships formed in suffering and sincerity helped Frankl find meaning in life, even in the depths of pain. Similarly, when you become unattainable, the relationships that remain are those willing to respect your emotional space, those who do not try to push buttons or manipulate your actions. These are the people who understand that your silence is not distance, but self-mastery. They do not try to force you to explain everything, because they respect your independence in thought and emotion. Those who stay are the ones who do not seek to change you, but are willing to change the way they perceive you, respecting the maturity and autonomy you have built. When you become unattainable, you no longer depend on recognition or approval from others. You do not need to explain your decisions to anyone, nor do you need to justify the boundaries you have set. Those who cannot accept that will naturally drift away, and those who remain will be the ones who truly appreciate your value. This is the process of natural selection, where shallow connections are filtered out, making room for more authentic and deeper relationships. These are the people who do not try to control or change you, but respect your autonomy and emotional freedom. Carl Jung believed that when we awaken and begin the journey of individuation, we not only rediscover our true selves, but also attract more harmonious connections. Those who stay are not threatened by your transformation. On the contrary, they admire that strength and resilience. Jung called this synchronicity, when souls of the same frequency naturally find each other, transcending all barriers of ego to form lasting and genuine connections. Number 8. A stronger presence. When authentic relationships begin to flourish, when those around you are the ones who respect your boundaries and value your true inner self, a subtle, yet immensely powerful transformation begins. Your presence becomes deeper and more authoritative. You do not need to speak up. You do not need to try to explain or persuade. Simply by being there, the space around you seems to naturally adjust to welcome the internal energy radiating from you. Carl Jung called this the harmonious integration of animus, masculine energy, and anima, feminine energy, two opposing but complementary psychological archetypes that help create a complete, solid, and unshakable individual. That powerful presence does not come from imposing or trying to impress, but stems from a deep understanding of your true self. But when you overcome that fear, when you accept both the dark and vulnerable aspects of yourself, you begin to enter a state of balance. No more running away, no more fear or attempts to hide. Your presence becomes silent, but incredibly powerful. People begin to notice. They sense your inner strength, even when you do not utter a word. A prime example of this powerful presence is Mahatma Gandhi. He did not need to shout. He did not need to use violence or harsh words to make the world pay attention. His silence, self-control, and immense spiritual strength made him a symbol of peace and steadfastness. Gandhi once said, "Gently, you can shake the world." His presence was so powerful that just standing there, without speaking, people could feel his inner power and unyielding determination. Jung explained this phenomenon through the concept of individuation, the process of becoming an individual. When a person fully integrates animus and anima, they not only become stronger, but also create a natural magnetic field. Those around them are drawn not by words or actions, but by the energy emanating from absolute self-mastery. Have you noticed that in a meeting or gathering, there are always people who do not need to speak much, yet all eyes are on them? They do not need to strive for attention, because their silence and calmness are enough to create an irresistible attraction. This is the power of animus and anima when fully integrated. While animus represents rationality, decisiveness, and masculine strength, anima symbolizes intuition, softness, and emotional depth. When these two elements harmonize, you no longer just react to the world around you. You become the one who guides your energy. Jung called this state the self, state of complete individuation, where you live true to your authentic self, needing no display yet still creating great influence. That powerful presence also helps you filter out unnecessary relationships. Those who come only to manipulate or seek control cannot withstand the strong self-mastery you radiate. Conversely, those who respect and appreciate your values are drawn to you more than ever. This is not just natural selection, but a process of realigning your energy to attract what is truly worthy. When you awaken, your presence becomes a form of soft power. No need to control, no need to prove. Just show up and shine. So, do you want to step into that state where your presence becomes so powerful that even without words, it creates influence? Are you ready to harmonize between rationality and intuition, between strength and softness, to become the most complete and invulnerable version of yourself? Share with me, because this is not just your journey, it is an inspiration for those seeking true inner strength. When you choose to become unattainable, it is not an act of closing yourself off or withdrawing from the world. It is a process of redefining connection with your true self, with your inner strength, and with a peace that no one can disturb. You are no longer the puppet pulled by the strings of others' emotions, no longer swept up in psychological whirlwinds caused by manipulation or external expectations. Instead, you become the one who holds the reins of your own life, directing your emotions with intention and setting clear boundaries to protect the peace within your soul. The journey of individuation that Carl Jung described is not merely a path to discover the self, but an inner revolution to transcend the shadow, to harmonize the conscious and unconscious, and to achieve wholeness. That is when you learn to confront the dark aspects, accept them, and then transform them into strength. You step out of the invisible constraints of society, no longer needing to seek approval or judgment from others. You do not merely live. You deeply feel your presence in every moment, steadfast and resolute. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse standing tall amidst a stormy ocean. Around you are violent waves, harsh words, judgments, and emotional manipulation, all crashing against you with ferocious power. Yet you remain there, unmoved and unshaken. You do not need to shout to assert your existence. Your light naturally radiates, strong enough to illuminate the path for those who are lost. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order." When you become unattainable, you are the balance between the storm of emotions and the peace within, a steady order amidst the constant chaos. Those who once manipulated you will feel uncomfortable, confused, and may even leave. But do not fear, because that is not a loss. It is liberation. Like cutting off heavy anchors, your soul's ship will glide smoothly, exploring uncharted seas. And when your space is purified, genuine people who respect your boundaries and value your true self will come. They do not come to possess or control. They come to walk alongside you, to share, to journey with you in inner freedom. After all, the final message that this journey wants to convey is, to become unattainable is not to shut others out, but to invite yourself in. When you are brave enough to turn inward, to touch your inner strength and define your true self, you do not just find peace, you unlock an absolute space of freedom, where you are no longer manipulated, no longer controlled, but entirely in command of your own life. If you feel the power of becoming unattainable and want to continue exploring the true self alongside Carl Jung's philosophy, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every new video will be a step forward on the path of individuation, helping you become stronger, more self-reliant, and true to yourself. Let's awaken and take control of your life. There are days when you feel yourself quietly withdrawing from the world. You no longer rush to respond to invitations, nor feel the urge to join in loud conversations. You shrink inward, much like a river silently receding during the dry season. Others may say you've changed, that you've grown cold or distant. But deep down, something much deeper is unfolding. A silent, yet powerful shift within. In this video, we'll dive into the heart of that experience through the lens of Carl Jung, the psychologist who understood that true maturity isn't about loud declarations, but about quietly becoming whole. When you become harder to reach, it's not a sign of retreat. It's a sign you are shedding old roles to live more honestly with yourself. If you stay with me until the end of the video, you won't just understand what's happening, you'll learn how to embrace it as a vital step in the journey of becoming your true self. And at the very end, I'll share a surprising insight, a perspective that might completely change the way you see this process, in a way you might never have expected. Number 1. Transcend reactive patterns. In our everyday lives, we often believe we're acting freely, but in truth, most of the time, we're simply reacting. We are swayed by the blare of traffic, an offhand comment from a loved one, a cold glance, or even a casual criticism. Each external stimulus tugs at invisible strings within us, triggering automatic behaviors without real choice. A person living this way, locked in constant reactivity, is like a tiny boat adrift on the open sea, easily steered off course by every wave and breeze. Worse still, they become vulnerable to manipulation. A compliment lifts them sky high, while a dismissive glance can send them crashing down. They become an open book, easily read, exploited and wounded by even the smallest gestures. But why does this happen? Is the world truly too chaotic? Or are we simply too fragile? Carl Jung would not seek answers in the external world. Instead, he would turn us inward, showing us that our uncontrolled emotions and impulsive reactions are traces of the unacknowledged shadows within. Jung called this the shadow, parts of ourselves we deny, reject, or hide from conscious awareness. When the shadow is triggered, it doesn't ask for permission. It floods over us, carrying with it old wounds, buried fears, and unfulfilled desires. And we react, not as free individuals, but as unhealed memories acting out. This is why, according to Jung, when something external sparks anger, hurt, or collapses, the true issue isn't the person or event itself. It's the part of us already primed to react that way. The world is just an excuse. The world is just a mirror. If your inner self is a calm lake, even a storm will only cause gentle ripples. But if your depths are already brewing storms, even a light breeze can unleash chaos. In everyday life, we see this constantly. A polite rejection can feel like deep abandonment. A constructive critique can trigger hidden shame and ignite explosive anger. When we don't truly know ourselves, the world becomes a battlefield, and every glance and word feels like an arrow poised to strike. The tragedy is that many people spend their entire lives trying to control the outside world. instead of examining their inner one. They fear judgmental looks, crave praise, and chase societal approval as if it could certify their worth. They build intricate masks, personas, hoping to shield themselves from pain. But as Jung pointed out, anything unacknowledged within us will return from the shadows to govern our lives. The more you try to control how others see you, the more you lose your freedom, and the more you become a prisoner of unconscious reactions, driven not by awareness, but by old wounds. In this context, the call to stop reacting is not just a behavioral strategy. It's an invitation to journey back to yourself. To stop reacting, you must first recognize every strong reaction is not truly about others. It's about you. It's about a part of you longing to be seen, acknowledged, and healed. When faced with criticism, instead of snapping back or retreating, ask yourself, which wound in me is hurting? When anger surges at someone's careless behavior, pause and wonder, what does this emotion really reveal about me? Instead of reacting, let these emotions wash over you like waves on sand. Watch them. Acknowledge their presence, then let them recede. It won't always be easy. Emotions can rage like storms. But every time you choose to stay with yourself instead of being swept away, you rebuild a new relationship with your inner world, one based on understanding, not control. Sometimes it starts simply with a breath, a sigh, a slight step back, a quiet space wide enough for the real question to rise. What does this truly mean to me? And if you are patient enough to go deeper, you'll discover a profound paradox. When you stop being swept away by external triggers, you no longer need to control the world. You realize the world can be noisy, chaotic, unfair, but it no longer holds the power to disturb your peace. People may love you, misunderstand you, betray you, or admire you, but none of it touches your core unless you allow it. When Jung spoke of individuation, he wasn't urging us to become perfect versions of ourselves. He spoke of becoming real human beings, capable of embracing both light and shadow within. And from that place, you no longer need validation. You no longer need to react to prove your existence. You simply live. Quietly, fully. The world will continue to move. People will continue to judge, expect, and evaluate. But with a mind that understands its own workings, you can see the world as a mirror, a place to observe, to learn, but not to lose yourself. You are no longer a reed swaying in the wind. You are rooted deep in the earth, steady, calm, alive and awake. Yet, stopping our reactions is only the beginning. Realizing that the external world cannot define your worth is crucial, but to truly live in that freedom requires an even harder act. Letting go, not just of the need to control others, but also of the old images you clung to in order to define yourself. Letting go of outdated ambitions, hidden wounds, and misplaced dreams. If ceasing to react frees you from the world's pull, then letting go frees you from the inner chains you barely knew were there. Only then can you step into a life lived from the inside out. Number 2. Surrender control. By our very nature, humans often confuse holding on with preserving life. We cling to people, to memories, to things that once made us feel safe, as if letting go would plunge us into an endless void. But Carl Jung pointed out that this very clinging is the greatest barrier to the journey of individuation. In the end, attachment is the soul's refusal to evolve. It echoes from a part within us that isn't yet ready to face life's inevitable changes. Individuation, the process Jung saw as the core of spiritual maturity, demands a constant letting go of outdated self-images, old expectations, and even the most beautiful illusions about the world. Jung didn't describe letting go as a sudden act, but as a deep inner transformation, It's like autumn surrendering its leaves without resistance, or a river curving naturally with the landscape instead of fighting to hold a fixed shape. Humans, however, rarely move so easily. We cling not just out of fear of losing others, but more profoundly out of fear of losing ourselves. Letting go of the familiar forces us to confront a raw question. If I am no longer those things, then what am I? And here, a quiet truth reveals itself. What we truly cling to is not people or circumstances, but old definitions of ourselves. Someone holding on to an exhausting job doesn't stay out of passion, but out of fear of redefining their worth outside a familiar title. Someone who cannot leave a loveless relationship doesn't stay for love, but because they fear the unknown shape their life might take, without the label, someone's partner. In Jung's analysis, clinging is not proof of love or loyalty. It is the mark of an ego still too immature, too afraid of the darkness that change brings. If we do not learn how to let go, individuation stalls. We keep playing old roles, wearing faces society expects us to show. Worse still, Jung warned, repressed parts of ourselves, our desires, fears, and instincts, will rise up from the unconscious in distorted forms, disrupting our lives from the shadows. Letting go, therefore, is not just about freeing ourselves from external things. It's about being honest with ourselves, admitting that we have changed, that our soul's needs have changed, and that our first loyalty must be to our own inner growth, not to outdated structures. In real life, letting go can look remarkably simple. It's someone who stops checking their phone for messages that will never come. It's someone who finally walks away from a job that has long drained their joy. It's someone who chooses to sit with their emptiness instead of rushing to fill it with cheap compromises. These actions might seem small on the surface, but in the depths of the psyche, they are monumental steps toward individuation. Letting go doesn't mean ceasing to love or cherish the past. On the contrary, it is the highest form of love, loving life enough to not bind it to what has already passed. Like a gardener who trims away dead branches so a tree can thrive, we too must release what has completed its role in our lives. What makes letting go so difficult is the fear of regret. We fear that someday we'll look back and wonder, what if I had held on just a little longer? But the real question isn't, what if I let go? It's what if I don't? Sometimes the cost of holding on isn't just pain now, but the endless delay of becoming who we're meant to be. There are seasons in life where letting go creates a terrifying stillness, a barren land where old habits have fallen away but new growth has yet to appear. Jung called this phase nigredo, the dark night of the soul, the necessary darkness before rebirth. Without accepting and understanding this stage, we risk filling the void too quickly with new attachments, repeating the same cycles. But if you can stay, if you can listen and learn from the darkness, it is there, in that fertile silence, that your deepest, truest self will begin to speak. Letting go, then, demands trust. Trust that life will continue to unfold even without our grasping. Trust that the emptiness we fear is not a black hole, but an open space, a chance for rebirth. So, how do we practice letting go in everyday life? First, we must change how we see loss. Letting go is not failure. It is the natural rhythm of life. Just as winter is not the death of nature, but its preparation for rebirth, letting go is the fertile ground where new layers of understanding can grow. Next, we must face our fear of loss with courage. Instead of running from it, sit with it and ask, if I let this go, what truly happens? What am I most afraid of losing? These questions peel back the outer layers and lead you to the core of your fear, where, more often than not, you'll discover that what you fear is much smaller than you thought. A practical exercise. Choose something you're holding on to too tightly, a stalled project, a stagnant relationship, or even a fixed belief about yourself. Ask, if I let this go, how would I feel? If even a flicker of relief appears, it's a deep sign that you are ready to release it. And remember this simple mantra: what is meant for me will come to me naturally, not through force, not through relentless striving, but through openness, through creating enough inner space for the good to find its way in. Here's an unexpected truth. We never really lose what's truly valuable. Authentic connections, deep joys, and core values don't need to be clung to out of fear. They endure naturally. What we let go of are illusions, false attachments. And in doing so, we don't diminish ourselves. We come home to ourselves. Have you ever wondered, if you stopped trying to control everything, what would remain? And what remains is your truest self. It's no coincidence that the greatest rivers must leave behind their sources to reach the ocean. In the same way, the journey of individuation demands that we leave behind familiar shores, throw ourselves into uncertainty, and trust that we will not dissolve, but expand. When you become unreachable, no longer easily pulled into ego games and external demands, it's not because you've closed yourself off, but because your attention has turned inward. You no longer react easily, no longer live to satisfy others' projections. You become invulnerable not by building walls, but by offering no hooks for others to cling to. This unreachability is not isolation, it is a return to the center of your being. And from that center, a new silence blooms, not the silence of withdrawal, but the silence of an inner self that no longer fights battles that don't matter. A silence that opens the next door of your journey, the mystery and the quiet power that mystery brings. Number 3. Find power in silence and mystery. In a world where everyone is constantly speaking up to be noticed, those who choose silence hold a rare kind of power. We live in an era where expressing, sharing, and self-promotion have almost become instinctual. But what happens when you step back and choose quiet over noise? According to Jung, silence isn't simply the absence of sound. It's a powerful inner state, a form of strength only those truly in control of themselves can wield. When you stop explaining yourself, stop trying to please the world around you, you reclaim space for your own being. The one who masters silence holds a precious card. They control the image they project. Those who talk too much leave traces. Those who remain silent leave questions. The less you reveal, the more others are left to wonder. And in that ambiguity lies a silent magnetism. Have you ever noticed how the quiet ones in a conversation often pique your curiosity the most? A thoughtful gaze, a slow nod, can sometimes leave a greater impact than 100 promises. Carl Jung emphasized that true self-mastery begins within. Strength isn't about issuing orders or winning arguments. It's about mastering your own words, emotions, and actions. Jung believed psychological growth demands a deliberate withdrawal from the urge to broadcast everything about oneself. Instead of seeking validation from the outside, you find fulfillment through your inner journey. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes, he wrote. Awakening doesn't happen under the spotlight, but in the quiet moments of turning inward. Jung also believed that no one can truly know themselves while still being overly concerned with how others perceive them. The persona we show the world is merely a mask, a necessary role, but never the full story. When the persona grows too noisy, too desperate for attention, the true self is pushed into the shadows. Silence, in its deepest form, is how we reclaim space for our authentic selves to breathe. We stop reacting to expectations, stop answering unasked questions, stop proving our worth through empty words. Those who master the art of silence are no longer dragged around by unconscious needs for approval. Instead, they become like underground rivers, deep, steady, and quietly powerful. When we stop speaking impulsively, something fascinating happens. People start to pay closer attention. Silence creates a void, and people hate voids. They scramble to fill them with assumptions, expectations, and projections. Those who talk too much are easy to categorize, easy to manipulate by those who listen carefully for cracks. The silent ones, however, force others to guess, and this uncertainty grants them an invisible advantage. Seasoned negotiators know that sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who says the least. Just like in chess, it's those who don't reveal all their moves up front who truly control the game. In everyday life, this kind of silence looks very different from coldness or isolation. A teacher, quietly listening to a student's fears, doesn't rush to give advice. Their silence becomes a space where self-awareness can grow. A father, sitting beside his child without imposing opinions, allows their bond to flourish from respect, not control. These acts don't draw loud attention, but they create the deepest, most lasting changes, because silence, when paired with full presence, becomes a mirror, one that doesn't blind with glare, but reflects clearly enough for anyone looking into it to see themselves. Silence also protects the sacred privacy of our inner lives. Our plans, dreams, and deepest thoughts don't need to be paraded for validation. Like seeds needing time underground before they can sprout, our ideas and hopes need quiet nurturing before they are ready to thrive. In choosing not to share everything with the world, we grant ourselves the freedom to fail, to restart, to grow, without the chains of external judgment. Act first. Let the results speak. Silence isn't fear. It's the understanding that some things can only grow in stillness. The psychological impact of silence runs far deeper than appearances suggest. Those who speak too much often betray their fears, ambitions, and weaknesses with every word. In contrast, the silent create a void that cannot easily be filled with assumptions. Their unpredictability draws others in, almost magnetically. A person who is silent yet fully present forces others to reflect on themselves rather than fixating outward. And often, it is in these reflections that the most painful reckonings occur, not because the silent person has done anything, but because their presence leaves no room for falsehood. Not everyone easily learns the art of silence. The habit of filling gaps, the need for affirmation, and the fear of being forgotten are planted deep in us from an early age. But for those patient enough to practice, silence transforms from mere restraint into a way of being. You move from feeling you must speak to speaking only when necessary. You shift from reacting impulsively to choosing your reactions. It can start small. Stop announcing your plans to everyone. Stop over-explaining when someone disagrees. Train your eyes and posture to reflect calmness. Over time, silence stops being a technique and becomes second nature. The moment you can sit quietly without feeling the need to justify yourself or win approval, you step into true freedom. You can walk through a crowd without needing to be seen. You can say no without apology. Your presence becomes a quiet force, like the natural fragrance of a flower, not an overpowering perfume. The world may sometimes misinterpret your silence. Some will see it as arrogance, coldness, or indifference. But those who have truly walked the path of individuation understand. This silence is not aimed at anyone. It is simply the release from the compulsion to prove oneself through constant external reactions. The real question isn't, what do people think about my silence? But rather, what does this silence allow me to preserve for myself? Choosing silence isn't a rejection of the world. It's a refusal to lose yourself in its noise. And in that stillness, you begin to hear what you once couldn't. The small, forgotten wishes, the boundaries you have let others cross too many times, the faint signals of a life in need of care. Silence doesn't just mute the outer noise, it amplifies the inner voice that truly matters. Without being pulled by expectation or judgment, you come to a simple but profound realization. If you don't prioritize yourself, no one else can do it for you. Number 4, honor your own needs. In our early years, we're taught how to live in harmony with the outside world. We learn manners, how to be agreeable, how to become good children and model citizens. Yet no one teaches us how to live in harmony with our inner world. Carl Jung once observed that for much of our lives, we are governed by the shadow, the sum of everything we've rejected, suppressed or banished from our consciousness to adapt to society. The shadow doesn't disappear just because we deny it. Instead, it grows quietly in the dark, waiting for a chance to emerge, sometimes in the most distorted ways. In this light, prioritizing yourself is not just about learning to say no to others. It's the first act of reclaiming the shadow, daring to face what you once feared within yourself. When you say no to demands and expectations, you're not merely protecting your energy, you're also refusing to continue playing the role of the good person, a role often built to avoid confronting parts of yourself you'd rather not see. It's like stepping into a long-avoided dark room. Prioritizing yourself forces you to face the truth. You're not always accommodating, not always forgiving. You have limits, needs, selfish desires, and none of these are sins. They are natural parts of being human. If we look closely, we'll see that living to please others rarely stems from pure altruism. It stems from fear of rejection, fear of isolation, fear of being unloved. We sacrifice our needs for validation. But this trade is never truly fulfilling. Recognition gained by betraying yourself always carries a bitter aftertaste, an unquenchable thirst. Jung believed true maturity cannot begin while we are still fully identified with the persona, the social mask. Maturity starts the moment we recognize we are not just what others expect us to be. We are also contradictions, imperfections, complexity, and to accept this truth, we must first withdraw the energy we pour into the outer world and redirect it toward listening within. Imagine a woman celebrated as the perfect mother, the devoted wife, the kind friend. She is always available, never says no. But deep inside she feels hollow, resentful. One day she starts declining invitations she doesn't want to accept. She spends time alone, reading, sitting quietly, even just to feel the chaos inside her. On the surface, she seems selfish, but in truth, she has embarked on the hardest journey, admitting she can't please everyone, admitting she has dreams, sorrows, and anger long suppressed. Only by facing all of that can she truly begin to live. When you prioritize yourself, a hidden part of you, imprisoned by fear, begins to break free. It might be a long-buried dream, a stifled passion, or simply your inner voice you've ignored for years. But the process is not always gentle. Setting boundaries may lead to misunderstandings, even isolation. Sometimes you'll wrestle with guilt and wonder if you're doing the right thing. That's inevitable. But remember, every step toward honesty brings you closer to your whole self. Picture this. You are the librarian of a vast library. For years, you've showcased only the bright, beautiful books at the front, qualities society praises. The messy, darker books are hidden in the basement. Prioritizing yourself is like deciding to descend into that basement, to dust off each forgotten book, to read them with patience and without judgment. In those chaotic pages, there are hidden gems, forgotten potentials. By prioritizing yourself, you learn to hear the inner voice, even when it speaks uncomfortable truths. Sometimes it says you're exhausted and need to rest. Sometimes it says you must leave relationships that have long since withered. Sometimes it tells you you're living someone else's dream, not your own. And the real question arises, will you dare to trust that voice, even if it leads you against the crowd? Prioritizing yourself is also a lesson in boundaries. Just as a river needs banks to flow, humans need boundaries to protect their life force. Setting boundaries isn't rebellion, it's wisdom. Knowing the point beyond which you lose yourself. Practicing self-prioritization can be simple, yet profound. Instead of rushing to reply to late-night work messages to appear dedicated, you allow yourself to wait. Instead of attending a party you don't want to just to avoid disappointing someone, you politely decline. These small actions, repeated over time, create a huge shift. You no longer react automatically to please. You respond honestly from within. And interestingly, when you truly prioritize yourself, you don't end up isolated as fear might suggest. Instead, you attract relationships rooted in mutual respect. You no longer strain to earn acceptance. You are accepted because you no longer compromise who you are. You may discover a profound paradox. Only when you dare to enter your own darkness can you truly shine in the eyes of others. People are drawn to those who live authentically, who embrace their imperfections without apology. Your presence, over time, will gain a depth unreachable to those still hiding behind masks. And so, from the small act of prioritizing yourself, you begin a great journey. The journey back to your authentic, complex, and beautiful self. You no longer move to the rhythm of the crowd. You move to your own deep music, echoing in the wide open space around you. You might wonder, if I stop chasing the approval of others, what will I find? The answer won't come all at once. It will come in fragments. In each small moment you choose loyalty to yourself. In the end, prioritizing yourself isn't just a lesson in survival. It's a lesson in living fully. A quiet, irreversible step that leads you to the threshold where you no longer ask, "Am I worthy?" but simply declare, "This is who I am." And from there, when you have reclaimed your shadow and integrated your scattered parts, your presence will naturally transform. You will no longer seek a place in this world. You are the place. This transformation, the journey Jung called living from the whole self, will be the final step we explore together. Number 5. Let your true presence emerge. There comes a point in life when you no longer need to do anything to stand apart. You simply change the way you exist in the world, and everything around you begins to shift. Carl Jung, with his deep insights into the human psyche, understood that every outward transformation begins with a silent movement within. When your inner reality changes, the world inevitably mirrors that change. There's no need to attract attention or build a facade. Your very presence, like a quiet river altering its course, naturally redraws the patterns around you. In the earlier stages of life, we often live outwardly, seeking approval, running races without ever questioning who set the rules. Each compliment lights a fire within us. Each cold glance chills the heart. We build ourselves like houses made from borrowed bricks, shining under the light of other people's expectations. But Jung pointed out a truth we eventually face. No house can stand firm if its foundation is not laid from within. And when those borrowed structures start to crack, we are left with a question we cannot escape. If no one is watching, who am I? Transformation of presence begins when you no longer look for yourself in others' eyes. It's not coldness or pride, but the quiet realization that true worth cannot be assigned from the outside. It must burn from within, like a lantern that keeps glowing, even when no one is there to see it. As this realization takes root, a new kind of silence fills your being. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be defended, explained, or validated. You stop seeking applause. You stop fearing criticism. You no longer rush into pointless arguments or frantic explanations. You simply stand, steady, like a stone at the riverbed, unmoved by passing currents. If you pay attention, you will notice this change in the most ordinary moments. When someone tries to provoke you, you no longer feel the need to react. When someone dangles a glittering opportunity, you no longer lunge forward, nor do you fear missing out. Your allure no longer comes from performing, but from a quiet presence that speaks louder than words. It is the kind of absence that makes others feel your weight even more. Jung described individuation as the union of conscious and unconscious elements within the self. As this process unfolds, there is no longer a need to hide imperfections or wear masks to fit in. You no longer perform to be accepted. You exist in fullness, like a field that blooms without asking for attention. In everyday life, this becomes tangible. You are no longer the person who shows up at every gathering just to be seen. You become selective about the spaces you occupy, as a careful gardener chooses the right soil for a delicate seed. You do not waste energy arguing online or explaining your life choices to people who were never truly listening. You conserve your energy for what truly matters. Every word you speak, every step you take, carries more weight, not because you're trying to project importance, but because it flows naturally from a center that has been forged in silence and reflection. Yet maintaining this transformation is not effortless. The outside world constantly tempts you to revert to your reactive self. A sharp comment, a flashy offer, a fleeting insult. Each has the power to awaken the old instincts. Without vigilance, it is all too easy to slip back into old habits of defending, proving, reacting. The only way to sustain this new presence is to remain anchored within. You do not allow anyone, no matter how close, to disturb your inner calm. You resist the impulse to explain, not out of arrogance, but because truth needs no defense. You become fiercely selective about who you allow into your space, keeping only those who nourish rather than drain your spirit. You can practice this, moment by moment. Observe who genuinely brings you peace and who compels you to perform. Notice when the urge to react rises in you, and choose silence instead. Every time you choose stillness over reactivity, you lay another stone in the foundation of your inner home. This transformation of presence is not glamorous. It will not bring immediate applause or public rewards. In fact, it may make you appear distant to some, cold to others. But if you can walk through these perceptions without losing your center, you will find a gift beyond price: freedom. Not the shallow freedom to do whatever you want, but the deeper freedom to be exactly who you are without needing permission. And perhaps the most profound realization is this: you do not have to be special to have worth. You do not have to win to be right or to stand out. You simply have to exist fully, quietly, steadfastly, like a natural part of the world itself. When you step into this state of being, the world responds to you differently. Genuine opportunities, authentic people start gravitating toward you, not because you chase them, but because they recognize something in you that is missing in themselves. A center that does not move with every passing storm. When you become unreachable, it does not mean you have disappeared from the world. It means you have become a fixed point, first for yourself and then, quietly, for others who are searching for the same steadiness. Life outside will continue its clamor, its frantic pace, its endless noise. But within you, the storm will have settled, and from that stillness, you will finally begin to live, not according to the world's demands, but in alignment with the quiet truth of who you are. We have just explored 5 profound yet subtle steps of transformation, stopping our reactive patterns toward the world, learning to let go of what no longer serves us, embracing silence and mystery as natural parts of who we are, prioritizing our inner world over chasing the crowd, and finally, allowing our presence to evolve from the deep roots of maturity. Each of these steps feels like a silent pilgrimage through the untamed forest of the soul, where you must abandon the false light to uncover the true fire burning quietly within. The greatest message Carl Jung left us is not about creating a new version of ourselves, but about dismantling the unnecessary layers we've built. When you become less accessible, it isn't a closing off. It's the opening of a new gateway, where the world no longer defines you, and you no longer need the world to know who you are. It's a quiet, yet powerful journey, meant for those courageous enough to walk through solitude and patient enough to grow from the stillness it offers. If this video has stirred a new corner of thought within you, feel free to share your reflections below. I would love to hear your deeper experiences. And if you find value in what we are exploring together, don't forget to subscribe. There's much more authentic and meaningful content coming your way, walking alongside you on this journey back to yourself. You don't need the spotlight of the world. You don't need the call from outside. The light you seek has always been burning quietly within your own soul.